All right, let's talk Obsidian and Claude Cowork because it is the most powerful AI stack out there, but 99% of the people out there are using it incorrectly. They're building some sort of brain that they're never going to use, and they're not unlocking the full potential. So in this video, I'm going to show you 5 Obsidian and Claude Cowork use cases you can use today so you can build your own operating systems and unlock capabilities that weren't even possible before all this AI madness. I'm going to save you some time. I'm probably going to make you some more money. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Jared Moon. I've hit the Inc. 500 twice. I run 5 total companies, and I am optimizing all of them with AI 1 week at a time, and I'm showing you the systems that work. So if you're ready to build something cool, let's dive straight in. All right, let's get straight into it. 5 insane Obsidian and Claude use cases. We're going to jump right into number 1, the handoff. I don't know why people aren't talking more about the handoff and why you should be doing it. So the problem is that Claude forgets. If you haven't noticed, Claude gets dumber, or ChatGPT, doesn't really matter. They all get dumber the longer you use them. It's called a context window. So if you are trying to use the same chat over and over again, at some point, its context window gets maxed out. Look, I'm trying to spare you all the boring stuff. I hardly understand it, but what I do know is I've used Claude Cowork, and it does get dumber. So Claude forgets. It starts to give you improper responses. It hallucinates. It doesn't know where you picked up, and you might have a big project you're working on, and you can't just keep coming to the same chat, the same Claude Cowork or the same Claude Code window and just doing the same thing over and over again. You need to implement the solve, which is a handoff doc. And I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like and how to build one, because you're not actually going to do anything yourself. Claude's going to do all this stuff. That's what I love about Claude is, like, sometimes I'm like, hey, Claude, go do this thing. They're like, oh, that'll take a week. I'm like, it's not going to take a week. It's going to take you 30 seconds. Why don't you go ahead and do that? So what I have right here is my actual website I'm working on. I own the domain jared.com. It is a personal brand site. So these are real URLs. Everything, all this is live right now. But ultimately, I'm working on it in small chunks. I'm just doing 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, because you could go to jared.com right now. You would see that it's live, but that is the old site. I am working on a new one, updating a bunch of posts in there, doing all sorts of stuff. But anyway, I'm coming back to this over and over again. And what I realized the first time I started to work on this was the problem here. Claude forgets. It just kept forgetting, or it would start to make mistakes. It didn't understand the scope of the project. And so I started the handoff document. And so what this does is, if I work on my website for 30 or 40 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, that's it for today. That's all I'm going to be doing. I tell Claude, hey, in my Obsidian vault, go ahead and add a handoff document for this project. That way, the next time I open up Claude, we can just pick up right where I left off. That's all you really need to say. You don't need to build this document. I didn't write a single thing in here. Claude did all this basically for itself. So you can see how long this is. This is 4,260 words of like all this stuff, all these things that we need to do. It mapped out the full project. Again, I'm not doing these things. It's doing all the work. So I don't even have to give you a structure. I'm just giving you the concept of utilizing the handoff for big projects and putting that in Obsidian. That is insane use case number 1. It is going to make your project so much smoother. And just think about all the use cases. I'm building out a website, coming back to it here and there, whether you're building out something for your company, you're working on client work, whatever. You can say, hey, Claude, build out a handoff document. So the next time you and I are working together on this project, you can pick up right where we left off, next steps, and you are up to speed. So the next time I log in, I'm just like, hey, Claude, we're working on jared.com right now. Pull up the handoff document. Let's get into next steps. And then we're working on the project again in a new chat, in a new window, new context window. We're not running into the Claude forgets or the Claude hallucinates problem. So that's use case number 1. All right, now let's get into use case number 2. So the next thing we're talking about are websites. The problem, web content hard. I love how Claude created this artifact for me, and it's like a caveman did it. Yes, web content is hard, Claude. And the solve is Claude writes, you publish. So let me just show you some examples real quick. I mentioned I'm working on jared.com. Here it is. Here's a preview of this, not done, but ultimately something that is building for me, and we're working on in short bursts here and there. In my previous YouTube videos, I did how to build a website, and we built this client website right here. This is a fictitious coach Marcus following the story brand framework. You can watch that video. I'll put a link in the description if you want to know how I'm building these websites and you want the full tutorial. But you can build these amazing things, and all of these files just live in my Obsidian brain. So this is Obsidian. These are the files for the Coach Marcus website. And then I also have jared.com right here, all the files for every blog post, every page, everything's all in Obsidian. So what I'm doing when I'm talking to Claude is I am having it build all these files in Obsidian. So again, I'm just telling Claude, hey, we're building out a website. I need you to build out all the files and folders inside of my Obsidian brain. It'll create the folder, it'll get to work, and now it is storing all of these things inside Obsidian, and then you can easily publish this to the web. But what's great about it is web content is kind of hard and kind of annoying, right? A lot of times people don't update things is because it's just you have to go into the web editor, you have to upload the images, you have to change the text yourself, all of this stuff. It can get pretty annoying and pretty cumbersome. That's why a lot of people aren't updating their websites very regularly. And worse, they're not optimizing them for AI search. They're not optimizing them for search engine optimization, any of those things. And you don't have to be an expert in any of those things anymore. So web content is very hard because one, you have to go in and do it. And two, you are not technically savvy enough to know the best SEO strategies. So when we're building it this way, and again, like I said, I have a video if you want the nitty gritty of how to upload this, how to get it live, all those kind of things, click the link in the description for that video. But it does all of these things for you. So you can build the website, but then to maintain it, you can just type up a draft for a blog post and say, hey, publish this on the website. Then you can go back further and say, hey, Claude, how about you go ahead and update everything to the most up-to-date optimized SEO strategies on the planet and go ahead and implement those things, run them by me one by one, ask me, what I approve and don't approve. This is making web content so freaking easy. It's crazy. So this is how people will be running their websites in the future. I know a lot of website platforms right now are scrambling, trying to implement AI or whatever, but I think it's too late for most people. If you have the smallest, tiniest bit of technical ability, you can build your own website. You can have Claude maintain it with all of the up-to-date technical SEO strategies. You used to have to pay people thousands of dollars a month to optimize your website for SEO. Claude will do all of it for you. And you can just throw all this in your Obsidian and it'll get updated automatically. It is really awesome and super easy to do. All right, let's get into use case number 3. So what we have here, the client vault. So what I put together for you in this example for this video is fictitious because I'm not going to actually show you my clients and people that I work with. But the problem is we all have content, right? So if I'm working with a client, I'll have emails back and forth with it. I'll have Slack messages. I'll have notes that I can generate with something like an AI like Granola, keeping all of this content. And it's great that we have all of this stuff, that we can have transcripts, we can have emails, we can have messages, all of these things. We have all the content to be able to work with clients really well, but we don't have context. And this is where it really gets insane. So you can start to build out folders in Obsidian and just tell Claude to start dumping everything in there. That's where it becomes kind of your client brain. So one folder per client, and then Claude gets ahead of things and looks for different signals. So I think you should really look at what I've put together here because this is very similar to what I actually do. I'm just not showing you my actual client files. So I had Claude kind of mimic what I do with my current clients and build out some fake companies that we might be working with. So Apex Manufacturing, again, fictitious. It's got all the emails in here. It's got all the meetings that we've done. It's got the about the company. It's keeping basically a running list of everything I've ever done with this company. This is the most important file, the signal file, right? And so right now it says the churn risk is high. Estimated window, 72 days until they tell you. 3 converging signals across the file set. None of them are obvious in isolation. Together, they're loud. And then it goes over all of these things about why this person is a potential churn risk. So you set up the signal file and you tell Claude, hey, I need you to get ahead of all of the data that's coming in. Things that I'm looking for. Is someone not satisfied? Are they not making progress? Are they about to churn? I want you to utilize all the data I give you to create this signal file in Obsidian so I can stay up to date with my clients. That's Apex Manufacturing. Another one was Brightline Studios. The signal file that it popped out was key person risk is severe. This account is healthy. The problem is structural. Every pillar holding this customer up is the same person, Marcus Webb. If Marcus leaves between now and August 14th, there is nobody at Brightline who can or will authorize a renewal. Now you can start to get other people involved in the project. And let's do one more, North Star Logistics, the signal file. There's an upsell opportunity. And what it goes on to say is like, hey, all the problems they're expressing are actually in your upper tier plan. You should probably pitch that to them. They don't even know that you sell the upper tier plan and you haven't pitched it to them yet. So you should go ahead and do that. So you see how this is taking the content that you have with all of your clients and now it's putting context behind it. So you don't have to constantly think, what's going on. Especially if you have a lot of clients, this becomes insanely powerful because you are starting to realize, hey, Claude can actually notice some things. And then there are other examples in there where it's like, hey, when this person first started working with you, they were super excited. Their emails were approximately 140 words in length, but now they're sending you 4-word emails, 15-word emails. Don't know if this is a signal yet, but something to pay attention to. Things that you might not catch right away, Claude is going to catch when you set up the signal file. So that's number 3, the Client Vault. Very powerful resource if you use it the right way. All right, let's get into use case number 4, which is the family operating system. I'm married, I've got 3 kids, and running a family is about like running a business. I would say it's actually more complicated and it's definitely more important. And the solve for running your family well is to build a family brain. To be honest, this is one of the first things that I tackled. And again, I'm going to give you some fictitious stuff because I don't need you in my personal business with my family, my life. But ultimately, you can set up something like this. So let me show you my Obsidian brain, the family OS. You can have the calendar, conversations you had. You can connect iMessage or whatever, health, people, recipes, stories, traditions, the brief. This is a very important document right here. Hey, this week, what needs your attention? Ren's preschool spring program. This is happening. Date night with Mara is Saturday, May 30th. You haven't picked a place. Here are last 3 mentions, blah, blah, blah. It just goes on and all these things. What's going on in the next 14 days? It's looking forward because I know something that happens with me. This just happened recently towards the end of school with my kids. Is like they had all these recitals and plays and talent shows and all these things popping up. And I needed those things on my calendar, not just to know that they were there, but also to be nudged to prep for these things, to make sure that I'm doing all the things that I need to do to be prepared for those things, including an anniversary, all these things that happen. I got a lot going on in May personally. And so it's really helpful to have something like this. And then also it becomes kind of the family history book, which I think personally is really cool. As a big family man myself, I love that it can put together all of these stories. I could dictate a story. It could put it in there. This is even something that you could hand off to somebody at some point, future family members, something that they could read through stories, or you could even have Claude at some point create a book over your family if you put enough stuff in here. But I think the family OS, putting in calendar stuff, conversations, health of relationships, recipes if you have them, these things are amazing. So building your own family operating system is huge. It doesn't take that many connections within Claude. After you connect all those things, throw and dump these things in Obsidian and have the brief file pop up so Claude can pull all of this information and be like, hey, based off of everything that's going on in your family right now, here's what you need to pay attention to. It's almost like having a personal assistant who's like, hey, don't forget, it's your wife's birthday. Maybe buy some flowers today before you go home from work. It's that level, but it's for $20 a month with Claude, and it's amazing. All right, let's get into the 5th and final use case, fitness. So I'm a big fitness guy. If you didn't know, I run the company GarageGymAthlete.com. This is something I'm starting to recommend our athletes do. So the problem is in most fitness programs, there are no feedback loops or people are inexperienced. Sometimes I have so much coaching information or I work with advanced athletes and I don't realize what they don't know, right? And so the solve is Claude is the coach. So GarageGymAthlete.com, our programming is $25 a month. You get some of the best programming on the planet. Now, I'm not trying to sell my Garage Gym Athlete programming to you, but what it is not is it is not a one-on-one coach. I do not think, honestly, having tried multiple times, Claude can provide better programming than we do at Garage Gym Athlete. But where we don't help our athletes as much as we could because it's not one-on-one coaching is we don't have a feedback loop, right? If you injured your back 2 years ago, you need to be taking that into account when I program deadlifts for you or my team programs deadlifts for you this week. Or if you have a shoulder injury and we're going a lot overhead, that's something that you're going to need to know and make adjustments on. And so what you could do is take something like Garage Gym Athlete programming that we have and create a feedback loop file. Because again, I don't think Claude providing workouts is the best for you, but I do think that it can provide phenomenal coaching and feedback loops. So if you're like, hey, Claude, this is my workout for today based off of my fitness history, my injury history, everything that you know about me, and you would have to either work through Claude to create this initial file about you, your intake. What are your goals? What injuries do you have? What are your limitations? What has worked in the past? What hasn't worked in the past? Be like, here's my workout for today. What adjustments would you make? And then it's like, oh, see that it has barbell row in here based off of not being able to hinge as well. Maybe you should do one-arm kettlebell row supported on a bench. It can make those small, tiny adjustments, and then you still operate within the program that was set for you. And now you have this feedback loop. It makes fitness so much better because it's like adding a coach to some really solid programming. If you are following any workouts out there that aren't one-on-one coaching, this is a phenomenal way to have a feedback loop that can actually keep you safe, keep you healthy, and really insanity for $20 a month. So I think the bigger takeaway here is that the Vault is not just storage. And that's what I'm seeing online with all of these things about Obsidian and Claude, is that they just say, clip everything that you ever see, throw all this crap in there, and maybe at some point that will become useful. That's not helpful information. The Vault is not storage. It can really be turned into leverage. Now, get your wheels turning if you are a business owner about how many different systems you could create within your business. I already gave you website example, handoff example, the clients example, all of these things. You can start to build out systems that Claude can run, can notice, it can get ahead of trends. This becomes really powerful when you start to truly combine Obsidian, how it should be used with Claude. And then after this, you are really creating leverage. You're not just creating a brain that is useless for most people. Now, here's the deal. These 5 use cases work, but you really need to understand one concept, and I call it the index, because you can build the most powerful AI stack on the planet. But if you don't follow the index method, Claude and Obsidian are going to get messy at some point, I promise you. The index is what turns a pile of notes into an operating system Claude can actually run. It's the map. Without it, you will end up lost at some point. I broke down exactly how to build your index in the video, how I use Obsidian and Claude to run my life. You can watch that one next by clicking the link on the screen or in the description, and then go build some more cool stuff.